Hello, you're welcome to another episode of Law Lifestyle and the Basics. My name is Temitope Olasamonu. For those who are just joining, I am a lawyer and a civics educator. I like to tell people about their rights. Now, very quickly, to work there, and I really would like to get back to work. I had a conversation with someone, a very good friend of mine, who is a senior friend though, a medical doctor that works in the UK. And I've done a video on the Nigerian constitution, as the caption refers. The subject matter of today's discussion. And I'm actually owing on the video. I was supposed to do a sequel to that video. I was supposed to talk about, the chapterization of the Nigerian constitution. Now, while I was discussing, some certain, NGO issues with him, we're working on an NGO and stuff like that. I was discussing it with him, I was telling him about, this juvenile protection and all of that. And I was just telling him about certain offenses and the punishments they carried. And, he's also passionate about, young people and the faith and, how the faith can really help, in the lives of people. And of course, that's Christian faith. With due respect to all faith, all the faith. Now, he was really talking about, we're just talking about it, and he said, when I told him that the punishment for a certain offense was life imprisonment, it was startled. It was like, really? Does the Constitution say that? And mind you, this is a medical doctor who works in the UK, a very intelligent person that I've known for a while. And it goes back to the issue of what I had discussed in the previous video, that the Nigerian constitution, I didn't say anything to him, of course. It just made me, probably that was some kind of reminder to me that I'm holding on this subject matter. And so, once again, especially for those who have not watched my video on the 1999 constitution, the constitution is not a dictionary of rights. It's not an encapsulation of all the laws in Nigeria. So not everything is in the constitution. What you have in the constitution is, about governance. It's like saying that you have law of contract. You have the law of, the maritime law. You have the aviation law. So not all the laws really, they're just different subject matter. But the constitution is talking about a constitution, like a creation of something, like an existence of something. Like when you say what this comprises of, this and that comprises of. Yeah, so we're talking about Nigeria. What does Nigeria constitute of? So we're talking about governance, then we're talking about people, the citizenry, and that's what the Nigerian constitution is all about, to regulate. And I'm sure some of us have had to register companies at the CAC. You talk about the articles of association, the what they call it, you talk about the memorandum of association, and and then for non-governmental organizations like incorporated trustees, like the church, like NGOs, you also have the constitution that regulates. So it's the law that regulates the modus operandi. So that's what our Nigerian constitution contains, and it's quite easy. I'm in the law library right now, and I wish I could grab quickly the constitution, but the constitution is really so handy. It's as handy as just a book like this, quite flat and handy. So don't get scared. It's not like a voluminous document. It's actually a book with 7 chapters. It's a book with 7 chapters. So I'm going to start with chapter 1 today, and hopefully it's digestible and you can understand it. Now, chapter 1 of the 1999 constitution, I have it on my screen, so I'm also looking at it by the side. I don't become, so it doesn't become a vague discussion. It will be very important for us to know the nitty-gritty, the step-by-step basis of the 1999 constitution, especially as some people will never get to look into it. So, as I was saying, it has chapters, and chapter 1 talks about the general provisions. It's like an introduction. It talks about the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the supremacy of the Constitution, that this is the ground norm, this is the number one law. Everything has to confer or defer to the 1999 constitution. Everything has to be subject to the constitution. Now, just like you have wills, for example, you probably know what a will is, of course, and a will is like essentially a document that talks about, the desires of the testator, or, to take place upon his death, especially in the allotment of his property and stuff like that. Now, you could also have a codicil, which is an addendum, which is an additional document to the will. So you understand that. So the constitution is like the basic thing. It's the basic thing, like the main dish. Then every other law is like on the side, and it has to not conflict with the constitution. So very quickly, the constitution chapter 1 talks about general provisions that the constitution section 1 says it's supreme. Section 2 talks about the Federal Republic of Nigeria as we know it. Section 3 talks about the states and the Federal Capital Territory. Section 4 talks about the legislature, the powers that they have. Then Section 5 talks about the executive powers. Section 6 talks about the judicial powers, that's the courts and all of that. Then Section 7 talks about the local government system, and Section 8 talks about new states and boundary adjustment. I recall that there was a time where we had just 19 states. Now, when you want to create more states, what are we going to be talking about, or we're going to be looking at, that is found in Section 8, the voting across board in all the what do you call them, legislative houses in the country, what votes is going to be required. I'm going to be adding, tidbits to this video. Now, mode of altering the provisions of the constitution. Is it so easy to alter and all of that? Then Section 10 talks about prohibition of state religion. In as much as we're religious people in Nigeria is still a secular state, so I can't say that we can't say that so and so state has this religion. Now, the 1999 Nigerian constitution factors that there will be people with different tribes, with different religion. Then you also have Section 11 talk about public order and security. Then implementation of treaties. There are certain treaties that Nigeria is a signatory to. For example, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. For example, the Child Rights Act, and all of that. So these are treaties, laws. International treaties are international laws entered into by countries. So how do they come, since we've said that the constitution is the number one law in Nigeria, so what happens to Nigeria when it goes for a convention and signs treaties? Do they become automatically implemented and all of that? So Section 12 talks about that. Now, Section 13 talks about the fundamental obligation of the Nigerian government. And now I think I'm already going to chapter 2, which is some section I'm actually passionate about. So let's just stick with chapter 1 for today. Chapter 1 has 12 sections. They're just really basically paragraphs, just for easy reference. Alrighty, this was Law, Lifestyle and the Basics, and we talked about the Nigerian Constitution. If there's anything you should remember from this video, it's a book that has 7 chapters. That's the Nigerian Constitution has 7 chapters. It talks about many things, talks about governance, especially centered around governance and citizenry, and giving us boundary lines on how to relate as a people in our nation. Alright, so this is Timmy Tokwe. Last one, do I have any lifestyle tip? I think I do. I wasn't planning it, but it's on this Jackpot matter. First of all, to the Nigerians in diaspora, thumbs up to you. I pray that you succeed in whatever it is that you're doing, but also make sure that you do know the rules and regulations, the law of a state. And, Nigerians are achievers. Look at Tunde Onokoya, for example, who, although he was outside the country, still had, inclinations and, still had a heart for the impoverished and underserved children in poor communities, schooling wise, he was most concerned about it, and he dedicated his wing, the Guinness Book of Record wing to, those children in chess. And his father said something about the fact that he was so tenacious about chess as a little child. And then this chess, and it just really talks about the greatness of the Almighty God, how he wires everything that we're meant to be in us now. So if you're a Nigerian, do strive to do, I pray you thrive, and but make sure that you do thrive and strive to do what will make our nation proud. Even though you've left the shores of Nigeria, just make sure that you are still some kind of contributor to the development of this nation's name, to the rebuilding of its image. While we may complain about certain, politicians, certain people will abuse power, you now realize that outside the shores of this nation, you have no longer have the need to complain about being subjugated or being unfairly treated in your opinion. Now you can chase those dreams and ensure that you just bring some form of reprieve to this nation, to show those who are still here that we can do better. However, to those who are still in this nation, you still can do great. So we have people who also staying in Nigeria also won the Guinness Book of Record, and that's not the only prize. We have the Nobel Laureate Prize, and I really think this generation is a pretty fast one. I believe that we're speedy achievers in this generation, but just make sure that you're passionate about this country. Okay, now you complain about certain people in power, with due respect to the good ones among them. You complain about, and that's fine, you have a right to hear your opinions. However, it now shifts to you as a leader, whether or not you believe it, you're a leader in your capacity. You're a leader, you're to lead at something, you have that thing that you do so well. Now, I'm imploring us, to do better. It's not sufficient for us to just lay down there and be trampled upon, like a doormat. It's time to take the initiative and do the good Lord has given us to do, to be that light. One of my favorite scriptures is Matthew 5:16. Let your light so shine that men may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. Whether it's in the arts, whether it's in music, whether it's whatever it is, make sure that you own your skills and then be a contribution, and make sure that the good works are not just to polish and shine your name, but to make God so proud of you that he made you, really. All right, to do, take care. This was Low Lifestyle and the Basics, and together we will build a great Nigeria. I told God something. I'm putting on the record. I'm putting out there. I just had this boredom when I was going on, was it yesterday or so. I told God that please let me do something. Let me contribute to my country. I love this country so much. I want to give so much of my life and so much of my time. Yes, I'm a member of the body of Christ. I have a role there, but I also want to do so much for this country. So enough of asking what this country can do for me. I've been so equipped, by ancestry, by divine providence and all of that. And it's time for you and I, in similar vein, to contribute to the development of this country's image. And so, great Nigeria. Alright, you do take care. Bye.